we're covering several critical physiological factors for the FAA Part 107 exam: hypoxia, fatigue, stress, dehydration, and hyperventilation. First, let's address hypoxia, which is a state of oxygen deficiency in the body. You might wonder why this is tested, since as a remote pilot, you'll be on the ground. The FAA includes it because it's a fundamental aviation safety concept. On the exam, you won't be asked about pressurization systems, but you will be expected to recognize the symptoms of hypoxia. These can include headache, drowsiness, dizziness, and a false sense of well-being or euphoria. A typical question might describe a pilot exhibiting impaired judgment and ask for the likely cause. The trick here is to know the symptoms, even if the high-altitude context seems irrelevant to drone operations. A major confusion point on the exam is differentiating between hypoxia and hyperventilation. Hyperventilation is an abnormal increase in your breathing rate, often triggered by stress, which leads to an excessive loss of carbon dioxide. Its symptoms, like lightheadedness, tingling sensations, and visual impairment, are remarkably similar to those of hypoxia. An exam question will almost certainly present a scenario with these ambiguous symptoms and force you to choose between the two. The key is to look at the context. If the scenario involves a stressful event like a near miss or an emergency, hyperventilation is the more likely cause. Next is fatigue, a topic the FAA takes very seriously. Fatigue degrades attention, impairs concentration, and slows reaction time. For exam purposes, you must understand that the FAA considers the effects of fatigue to be as dangerous as being under the influence of alcohol. It significantly impairs judgment and decision-making abilities. A question might describe a remote pilot who has worked a long day with little rest and then makes a critical operational error. The most probable contributing factor the FAA is looking for is fatigue. Stress is another key physiological factor, and the exam will test its effect on your attention. Under stress, a pilot can experience something called attentional narrowing, or tunnel vision. This is when you become so focused on one perceived threat or problem that you fail to notice other critical information in your environment. For example, a pilot stressed by a low battery warning might fixate on the control station display and completely miss a person walking into the flight area. The exam will test this by asking how stress affects performance, with the correct answer being related to a narrowing of the perceptual field. Finally, we have dehydration. The critical takeaway for the exam is that even a very small amount of water loss can have a significant negative impact on performance. Losing just 1 to 2% of your body weight in fluid can impair cognitive function, memory, and decision-making. An exam question might describe a pilot operating on a hot day without drinking water who begins to feel sluggish and make mistakes. The trap is underestimating the severity. It's not just about feeling thirsty. It's a measurable degradation of your mental capabilities. For a mental shortcut, remember the FAA's own I'm Safe checklist. It stands for illness, medication, stress, alcohol, fatigue, and emotion. For today's topic, focus on the S for stress and F for fatigue, and then add the 3 H's of internal body states: hypoxia, hyperventilation, and dehydration. Combining these concepts helps you self-assess your fitness to fly, which is exactly what the FAA wants you to do. For free practice questions, AI-powered explanations, and more exam prep tools, visit openexamprep.com. That's openexamprep, all one word, .com.